Hi, my name is Todd Shea with Comprehensive Disaster Response Services, CDRS. We are registered in Pakistan as a trust, and we have Pakistan Center for Philanthropy certification and FBR tax exemption. We've been here for almost 17 years, since the 2005 Zilzala. And I came here after working at Hurricane Katrina and the tsunami in Sri Lanka that same year. So the day that I got back to my home in the Washington, D.C. area in the United States after Hurricane Katrina, literally I hadn't been back in the door for 5 minutes when I saw the earthquake on television, and I called the Pakistan embassy and I told my son I'm going to be going to Pakistan before I knew who I was going with or how I was getting there. So the Pakistan embassy, when I volunteered as a logistics coordinator for any mission that might be going to Pakistan to help the people affected by the earthquake, they gave me the number for some doctors with APNA, the Association of Physicians of Pakistani Descent of North America. And so I worked with them, worked with Islamic Medical Association of North America in the early days, getting supplies together. And then within a few days, we left for Pakistan, and had no idea that that will start a life's journey and change everything for me. But because I'd gone to many different countries doing disaster relief, and I'm a musician, and that's what I always did for a living. But then when 9/11 happened, I was in New York City to do a performance for some record companies, and then 9/11 happened the day before that was supposed to happen. So I went down to ground zero and helped out, did a lot of logistics work, delivered supplies to rescuers and doctors that were working down at the site of the fallen Twin Towers. And that changed my life. I realized I was good at logistics, and I realized how important logistics are, because trained doctors and law enforcement officers and people that are going into trapped buildings where people may be trapped and all these types of things, if they don't have somebody to back them up with their supplies, their food, taking care of them, making sure they have everything they need, their communications, their fuel, their transportation, and all of those things, then they aren't able to be effective. So I started doing that in different disaster zones. And even in last many years, I've been to places like the Rohingya camps at the border between Myanmar and Bangladesh. I've been to Haiti, Japan, the Philippines. We've helped missions in Syria and Iraq, and many other places that have been affected by disaster. But Pakistan has kind of become my home, because when the earthquake happened and I came here, after a couple weeks, the doctors asked me to stay. And so I stayed and did a long-term mission, put together a team here in Kashmir, and really fell in love with the country and the people, the beautiful mountains, the amazing mazadar food, khubsurat children, and zabardast people. And I found that, wow, you know, the Western media has always told us these people are terrorists and they're this and that, and it's always been negative about Pakistan, you know. And so when I saw how strong and wonderful and hospitable and beautiful and friendly these people were in the villages and in the army and other NGOs and just citizens that were coming from places like Karachi to help in the earthquake affected areas, I really came to respect the people here in this country. And then I came to know they've gotten kind of a bad rap around the world. And it seems to me that there are elements in other governments and the media, including my own government in America, of my own country, who tell 98% you know, negative about Pakistan, and they never say the wonderful things and the wonderful children, the wonderful people that are doing great things, not only for Pakistan, but for humanity. And I think there's a real unfortunate, the balance of coverage and information that the everyday American gets is very skewed in the negative direction and hardly anything positive. So our people in America and in the West, I think, are misled and misguided because of certain agendas by the elites. Maybe they want to sell more bombs and bullets. I don't know. But it does seem that Pakistan, while it has its problems like everywhere else in the world, has been scapegoated a lot. And I think it's very unfortunate. Pakistan is one of the very few countries that is speaking up for the Kashmiri people on a regular basis. You know, there's a dispute there going on, and I learned a lot about all these things. I just came to help people in an earthquake, but I learned so much about the country and about the Kashmir conflict and partition with India and the way that the West has, especially after the Afghan war, affected and dealt with this area from their perspective of their geopolitical aims. And then, of course, the British rule for hundreds of years before partition. So all these things I really had no idea about, and I learned. And I wish that all Americans could learn much more about Pakistan, because although I'm here to do humanitarian work, learning about what has happened here, I feel responsibility to try to, wherever I can, tell my fellow Americans and Westerners and other people who don't know about Pakistan some things that maybe will balance their perspective, you know. And so my finding has been, after, you know, the first few months, I decided to create CDRS, have a team here. Many of them are still with me to this day after the earthquake, and almost 17 years later, I'm still here, and I have a wife in Pakistan. I have a 10-month-old son, Mohammed Sultan. I'm very happy here. I could choose to live anywhere I want in Pakistan. And anywhere I want to live in the world, in fact. And I've chosen Pakistan because there's a lot of people here that need the help that my team and I can give. We're able to do a job that needs to be done here. And I think the country and its poor people especially deserve all the help that they can get. There's brilliant, beautiful children here who just need good nutrition and good schools and good opportunities. And whenever that's happened, they succeed. But unfortunately, there's a lot of children who fall through the cracks because they don't have those basic things met. And so CDRS is just here to try to give those children a chance and some hope, and families that are in need, communities that are in need of water, medical services, disaster relief. We care for widows and orphans. We also care for the animals, because that's also important. In Islam, it's important to be kind to animals. And so the health of the entire environment and the blessings of the entire nation depend on all of us being kind and compassionate, not only to widows and orphans, but to all of God's creatures. So we have a really big, thanks to a very generous Pakistani American donor, we are able to take care of animals here too. So we have a lot of work cut out for us, and we every day are busy and dedicated 24/7 to doing everything that we can to make Pakistan a better place for the suffering and neglected to live in. So my message to the youth out there, and actually anyone, is that people will do good in this world to a certain extent. Let me start that over again. Sorry about that. So my message to the youth of Pakistan, actually to the youth anywhere, and to human beings in general, is that we should always, of course, take care of our own family, but we should also think about taking care of our community, the people around us, the people in our nation, and also to some extent, also people around the world. People criticized me for coming to Pakistan in America. They said, "Why are you going to help terrorists?" Well, unfortunately, they have been misguided. When I got here, I found that not to be true. And so I think that we need to get out and travel more. We need to learn others' perspectives. We need to always think about how we can reach out to others and not only learn about others, but try to be compassionate and have some empathy for what they face and for their perspectives. And if everyone in the world were to do that, then we would probably have a lot less conflict and wars. I think that my message would be that everybody can do something. Everybody should do something. Not just for themselves and for their blessings from Allah, but also because it's the right thing to do, and it makes one feel good to help others, to know that they gave somebody who was suffering some hope, some aid. And for me, it's one of the most powerful things in the world is the feeling that you get in your heart. So it's part selfish in a way, that just on the good feeling that you get, but it's also the right thing to do. There's a lot of suffering people in this world, and there's a lot of people that are not doing much. And even, it's not just evil in this world that is a horrible thing. Even more problematic is indifference, if we're indifferent to the suffering of others. So we should always take some time to get involved in helping others. And for me, it didn't matter that Pakistanis were from another country on the other side of the world, that maybe had a different, color of their skin or different look or a different religion, although I have accepted Islam in 2009. But back when I first started, I believed in God, but I didn't know anything about Islam. So I think that for me, it was all about human beings and humanity. So when people told me I shouldn't come to Pakistan because they're terrorists and they're just gonna, strike us again in the future, their children someday, the way I looked at it is, Pakistan is on planet Earth, and it's part of the surface of planet Earth. And we're all human beings in a larger human family, and we should be always looking at humanity first. And we should be proud of our culture. We should be proud of our country. We should be proud of our roots and our religions and all of these things. But we should never let those things make us forget about our common humanity. And that's what CDRS is all about. We help people in Pakistan. Mostly they're Muslim because mostly it's Muslims in this country. But we help people who are Christian communities, and we help people in Hindu communities. And we don't ask people's religion when we go to help, unless the funds are for zakat. Then of course, for zakat rules, we make sure the funds are spent by zakat rules. But we have a lot of funds that are also a non-zakat. So we make sure that we help anybody and everybody who needs help, regardless of their station in life or where they're from or the color of their skin. And that's our philosophy. And so it's all about humanity for us. And obviously, when an American comes to Pakistan, a white American, people in America think I've joined the Taliban. People here, some people think I'm part of the CIA. But that's because in their own worldview, they can't see that it is possible to just love humanity and human beings. And all that other stuff is just, for me at least, is all just a lot of noise and nonsense. Because at the bottom line, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And if there's a human being suffering, then we should do something to help them.